Hi everybody, Victor with Master Book Flippers. If you sell used books on Amazon, you probably already know how important it is to reprice your inventory. In our last video, we introduced Master Book Repricer and told you why it makes so much more sense to pay a one-time fee than ongoing monthly subscription fees to reprice your books. Now, what if I told you that your automatic repricer that you're paying for every month has a technical limitation that is costing you sales continuously? Now, many sellers still don't know about this. In this video, I'm going to talk about the hidden data blind spot issue affecting every single automatic third-party repricer that charges you a monthly fee. I'm going to show you why it's costing you sales, why it matters, and I'm going to show you a solution to overcome it. All right, so let's talk about what are data blind spots. Okay, so Amazon's API only shares the 20 lowest prices for used offers. They also do the same with new, but since book flippers are primarily doing used books, we're going to focus on used. So what it means is Amazon only shows the lowest 20 offers to repricing tools, third-party repricing tools, okay? So they all operate this way when they try to automatically reprice your books. So, for example, if there are more than 20 used offers, anything beyond that, whether it be the 30th, the 150th, or whatever, are invisible to these third-party automatic repricers that charge you a monthly fee. Okay, so what we're seeing here is, let's assume that these are all used offers and we've got 30. Now we could have 100 or more, and that happens all the time. But in this example, let's just say we have 30, and you can see the price that the seller is offering, the seller's name, how they're fulfilling it, whether it be merchant fulfilled, and then the repricer visibility. So in this example, the lowest FBA is by the seller named Story. So if you were priced above that, anywhere above that, and you wanted to match that price at $38.55, your automatic repricer won't be able to do that. Okay? Can you believe that? That is what it happens. Now, I'm not just saying match. You might say, I want a price below by a few pennies. I want a price above. Doesn't matter. It's as though that repricer doesn't see it. So they cannot reprice your book the way you expect. Now, some of them work differently. They might have a rule that says, hey, well, if we can't do that, we're going to automatically reprice your book to the lowest merchant fulfilled, which in this case is $8.49. Most sellers aren't going to want to do that approach, right? So this is how they all operate, and they don't even tell you about this data blind spot. So go look on their website. You probably won't find anything about it. And I created an older video about repricing, telling you how it's one of the most important, one of the pillars of this business. You've got to reprice, okay? And in that video, I talk about using Amazon's automatic repricer because there are no data blind spots. Now, there's other issues with that, and we'll get to that later. But the point being is, just so you know where you stand here, I'm not going to give you guys any type of tool or anything that I wouldn't use myself or believe in, okay? So let's start there. Now, don't take my word for it. If you are searching for a repricing tool, which you should be if you're selling used books, or you should have one already, what I suggest you do is reach out to them. If they don't answer these questions on their website, then you need to ask them very clearly, okay? So let me point out a couple things here. And this is what I was just talking about, right? You're asking. Now, when you ask them about the limitation, their answer really has to be yes. It cannot be anything other than yes. Now, they're going to give you a politician type answer. I'm going to prepare you ahead of time, but hold their feet to the fire and make them answer the question, okay? And then you give them example, right? Now, they will tell you that, oh, but we know who the lowest, we always knows who the used buy box offer price is. Well, okay, whoop-de-doo. Who cares about that, right? Why am I paying you monthly fee just to match the, or tell me who the lowest buy box offer is, right? We can do that for free with Amazon's Repricer, and you can use another tool and not pay a monthly fee for that, okay? And when you ask them this question at the bottom here, is there a way for me to run a report or be notified that that was the reason? The answer is going to be no, or it should be no, because they can't see that offer, right? If you say, I want to be priced 10% above the lowest FBA, for example, and it doesn't reprice, it's one of two reasons. It's either you're already priced at that, or you're within the realm of that, so it's not going to reprice, it doesn't need to reprice, or there's a data blind spot issue, but you don't know. And in fact, they don't even know because they can't see that offer. And I know this might sound confusing, but if you ask them a question like this, you're going to know you just can't run a report. You've got to do a lot of manual work to figure this out. You have to look at the listings and you have to look at your repricer and see what it's doing, okay? And no doubt they should be answering the question saying, nope, we can't have you run a report. We just don't know because we can't see the offer and we don't know what's happening. That's the real truth of it. Now, why does this matter? Well, first of all, what I just went over with you, you should understand there is no way on earth as a business owner you should be putting up with this. It's like opening a store and then, every day or whatever, we're going to shift around and just close down one of the aisles, right? Let's say it was a grocery store. Oh, we're going to just close this down for a part of the day, and then we're going to move it tomorrow. It's going to be over here. Just customers can't get to it, right? And that's what's happening, right? So there's no way you think that this is acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And the reason people put up with it is because either one, they don't know about it like I did when I first started, or two, they don't think they have any other better options. But there are better options today. So what could be the impact? Now, when I did my analysis, it was 16% of our issues were impacted with this data blind spot issue when I was using a repricer several years ago. Now, the blind spot impact is going to vary from seller to seller. So in this example, you can just see, let's say it were 10%. If you had 100 books, that means 10 of your book being impacted. But if you had more, let's say you had 1,000 and 15% of your books were impacted, that's 150 books. And then from there, you can estimate and see really what's this impact may be having on you. So for example, if you had 1,000 books in inventory and your blind spot impact rate was, let's say it was 15%. So, and your average selling price, let's say your average selling price were $35, you'd multiply 150 times 35, how much you might be impacting your sales because of this data blind spot issue. Okay, now let's talk about the solutions to avoid the data blind spot issue altogether. All right, first you can manually reprice, and second, you can use a non-automatic repricer. Now, there's a few flaws with each of these. First, if you're manually repricing, you are not going to be able to automatically reprice your inventory. And that same issue is shared with option number 2, as the name implies. It's a non-automatic repricer. So what exactly does that mean? That means when prices change, when your competitors' prices change, your price doesn't go up, it doesn't go down, it simply stays the same until the next time you use that tool. The tool being manually you going in and looking, fine, there's no data blind spots, but you're just changing your price and you're unable to react as quickly as everybody else who is using an automatic repricer. And the same with the other option, the non-automatic repricer. So that's what they share together. The big difference is that if you are manually repricing, it is extremely time consuming, okay? So that just, in my mind, just compounds the issue where you're getting a false sense of security that you're doing some good because you're going in and repricing, but it's not nearly as effective as using an automatic repricer. The non-automatic repricer, of course, you're going to be paying a monthly fee to use it, but it's not going to automatically reprice. And again, it's just not as effective as using an automatic repricer. And in my experience, dealing with experienced sellers, large sellers, they don't like either one of these options, okay? And the main reason, forget about the cost, it has everything to do with the effectiveness of either of those options. Sellers would rather use an automatic repricer with data blind spots as opposed to manually repricing or using a non-automatic repricer. And I'm going to show you why this is the case. Let me just give you a quick example on this. So let's assume that we had sourced this book. We found this book. We see that if we want to sell it at $85.50, we've got a $32 profit, and the ROI is over 100%. Okay, that's great. Now, if we look at the offers right now, you can see, and this happens all the time. So I'm giving you this one example, and not only can I give you hundreds, I could probably give you thousands of books, and these are ones that book flippers will want to flip, where you can see these prices are very close to one another. Now, why are they so close to one another in price? Likely because they are using an automatic repricer. So if you go in and you say to yourself, especially this is a textbook. Now this book, well, at least when I make this video, is going to be going for probably a lot more during the textbook season, the summer textbook season specifically. However, the point being, let's assume it was the middle of textbook season or even on the tail end, and you want to sell your book. The wrong approach would be to go in and manually reprice and say, I'm going to set my price at $85.50 or $85.51. Because what will immediately happen, and you'll likely see this if you go back and check even an hour later, suddenly you're going to fall into the fourth or fifth slot and you won't be priced at $85.50. You will be priced at $85.50, but these other sellers are going to be a penny below you. Okay. Now they might sell and then yours might sell at that price, but you don't know. There could be other people in there. But the point is, especially when you have a huge profit, you want to lock it in. If I'm selling this book, I could care less if I sell it maybe at $78, right? I just want to sell it, and I don't want to get stuck with a July textbook when I can sell it and sell it quickly and not be stuck with it for an extended period of time. So that's when you want to use an automatic repricer, and this happens all the time. So an automatic repricer, if you priced at $85.50 and you put it down to the minimum price being down to, let's say, $78 or something like that, then the automatic repricer will incrementally lower your price, which I would be fine with in a situation like this. What you don't want to do is match the lowest FBA without having an automatic repricer, or the second or the third lowest FBA in examples like this, and this happens all the time. All right, so what's the solution? So the way Master Book Repricer works is that we harness and use Amazon's repricer. Now, I know there are more and more people using Amazon's repricer, I think, now than in the past. I think that's a better option, but at the same time, Amazon's repricer comes with other issues. I've talked about them in other videos, so I won't go into them in too much detail here. But the way Master Book Repricer works is that we're going to use Amazon's repricer for that automatic feature that has no data blind spots. So that's huge. And then when you're in using our software and you set your minimum and maximum price and you set a rule, you know, and you have more confidence, and I know I can sleep better at night knowing that my inventory is going to be priced all the time in between my minimum and maximum price. Okay? You do not have that same comfort where you are using an automatic repricer that has data blind spots. Okay? And at any time, we simply upload a file at our convenience and we will raise all of our books, whether you have hundreds or thousands, to your maximum selling price all at once. And that is a huge advantage over using Amazon's repricer on your own. So the other thing we do is we give you some strategy that you can use for books. You can set a future reprice date. You can flag books. You can take screenshots. You can add notes. And if you're using Master Book Flipper software to source, when you're sourcing, you can add these things in at that time, which is an even better strategic move than doing it after your books are sent to Amazon. If you're interested in learning more, we have a free download guide for you on repricing. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in this type of content. We've got a new video coming out soon on textbook repricing strategy that you do not want to miss.